Today on The Nation Speaks, a heartbroken dad is sure his son died from his COVID jab. That's not what he's being told. In fact, he's being told very little of anything. Dan Hartman shares about Sean and his year of pain. Then in America Q&A, what do you think? Should all suspected side effects from COVID vaccines be robustly studied and publicized? Next, doctors critical of COVID measures face punishment from their medical boards. So the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons dropped a lawsuit to make that stop. We speak to their lawyer, Andy Schlafly. Finally, in our second America Q&A, do you believe it's the government's job to sometimes protect people from themselves? Hello and welcome to The Nation Speaks. I'm your host, Cindy Drucare. The latest data from VAERS, or the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, contains over 1.35 million adverse reactions to COVID vaccines since their rollout. Among those, nearly 30,000 deaths. Of course, submitting a report only means that a vaccine is suspected of causing the bad outcome. It's not proof. But at the same time, studies show that less than 1% of actual adverse events get reported at all. It could be higher for COVID shots, but not by orders of magnitude. And anyway, capturing every event isn't the goal of VAERS. It exists as a warning system to detect unusual or unexpected patterns that might indicate a possible safety problem with a vaccine. So then, why is discussion of potential injury from COVID vaccines routinely dismissed or censored? And why, despite millions of reported problems, has the federal government only agreed to pay out one vaccine injury claim through its compensation program? And it's not just here. The exact same thing is playing out in Canada too. 10 months ago, a healthy 17-year-old hockey-loving kid from Ontario, Canada, Sean Hartman, suddenly died. Sean's dad suspects a vaccine, but mostly he just wants honest answers about why his son is gone forever. I sat down earlier with Dan Hartman. Dan, I know this is still extremely raw for you. Your Twitter account at Answers for Sean, it's a loving daily tribute to your son, and it's one of the saddest things I've seen on the internet. So thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Start out by telling us exactly what happened to Sean and why you think that the Pfizer shot is responsible for his death.
Sean needed a vaccine to continue to play hockey, which was his love and passion since he was 8 years old. So on August 25th, he had a Pfizer vaccine. And on August 29th, he went to the emergency. He had brown circles around his eyes and a rash, and he was vomiting. And they sent him home with only Advil. The doctor didn't do 2 blood tests that he should have done. I've been told by another doctor that he should have done them. And on the morning of September 27th, he was found dead on the floor beside his bed.
What would those blood tests have shown?
Blood clots and damage to the heart. The autopsy has the cause of death unascertained. They don't know why he died. Nobody can tell me why he died. And I asked the coroner, can you tell me 100% it wasn't the vaccine? And he said no.
And have you shown that autopsy report to anyone else?
Yes, I sent it to another pathologist in Canada, and he said in his opinion it is the vaccine. He can't say 100% either, but he said in his professional opinion it was. He was a perfectly healthy boy. He had no underlying conditions. And in my mind and in my soul, the vaccine killed my son. There's no other logical explanation. There's a lot of things that said it did, and none that say it didn't. The guy who did Sean's autopsy is very professional, very well known. And he looked me in the eye at a face-to-face meeting and said he tried his best, and I believe him. I don't think they're trying to cover it up. I just don't think he knows how to find it like another pathologist might.
I see. And with the blood tests that weren't done on Sean when he first went into emergency, what might that have changed, or what could have happened at that point?
Well, if they would have found clots, they would know that there's a problem. The doctor admitted in the autopsy that he thought it could be a vaccine reaction. So why on earth didn't you do 2 simple blood tests? Why did you just send him home with Advil? I filed a complaint against this doctor. They found him not guilty.
Was it the autopsy doctor or the emergency room doctor that said it could be the vaccine?
The emergency room doctor.
We heard from Dan Hartman about one doctor in Canada who lost his license for being critical of COVID vaccines. In the U.S., doctors face the same pressures. But now some physicians are fighting back. The Association of American Physicians and Surgeons Education Foundation, or AAPS, is suing 3 medical specialty boards for threatening doctors who speak out on matters of public concern. The boards are the American Board of Internal Medicine, the American Board of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and the American Board of Family Medicine. The AAPS has been around since 1943 as an alternative to the American Medical Association. Its principles are to serve patients, not the state, preserve medical freedom, and stand up for physicians. Joining us now is a lawyer who filed the lawsuit, Andy Schlafly. Andy, welcome.
Thank you.
Andy, what does your suit allege?
We complain about how several specialty boards, these are board certifying organizations that provide board certification to physicians, and we complain about how they are retaliating against physicians who speak out about COVID and who speak out in criticism of Dr. Anthony Fauci and others with respect to policies that have been implemented on COVID, things like vaccine mandates, things like lockdowns, early treatment, that sort of thing. What's happening now are these specialty boards threatening to retaliate against these physicians for what they say in public, for what these physicians speak out publicly about. And that's a First Amendment right. And these physicians should not be subjected to retaliation with respect to their board certifications based on what they say, what the physicians say in public. I want to emphasize, how significant that is. Board certification to a physician is what he needs in order to practice in a hospital, is what he needs in order to be in an insurance network. So board certification for a physician is extremely important to his ability to practice medicine. Taking away board certification from a physician can, in effect, take away his ability to practice medicine.
And how are they threatening? Are they issuing letters? Are they calling them? Is it veiled threats? Is it overt?
No, it's explicit letters that have gone out to these physicians, about a dozen or 2 dozen of them. Many of the physicians were listed in RFK Jr.'s book, The Real Anthony Fauci, where RFK Jr. praised these physicians. Now they're being retaliated against. And letters have been sent to these physicians, which threatens retaliation against them based on their public statements.
And how does it frame what they're being accused of?
The letters are very general. The letters speak in non-specific terms. They talk about the physicians making comments about COVID, making comments about vaccine mandates, and so on, making comments about Dr. Anthony Fauci. And none of the letters specifically identify or prove any falsity to any statements. But it's just sort of, you've been speaking out about these issues, here's some quotes of what you've been saying, and we might revoke your board certification over this. So the letters lack any proof of any misrepresentation by any of these physicians. And all these physicians are some of the finest physicians we have in our country. Everything they've said is true and important to the public debate. There should be no retaliation by anyone against these physicians.